And hello, welcome everyone to this video. So in this video, we're going to talk about the so-called more proper way of dependency injection for DbContext. Not that the way I did previously wasn't, it didn't work. Of course it worked, but the way most people, dependency injection is supposed to be done, like I guess more less explicitly, is to use this AddDbContextPool, okay, or AddDbContext. Okay, so this actually sets application DbContext, your AddDbContext up as a service that can be used. It will be a scoped service, not a singleton or transient. It will be a scoped service. And notice here, you don't even need to write your own implementation. I mean, you don't even have to write your own interface in order to perform this dependency injection when you add services here. So whereas with if you look at if I kept Program.cs, you'll see that I will have to, if I add a scope service, for example this one, I have IAmTimCorrey AddDbContext simple. Alright, I need an interface, and then I need the implementation of the interface. Okay, if you want to not write that interface down, you can use this AddDbContext option. It is way easier in that regard. However, of course, there are lots of other things going on here, like your options builder is so-called put into this the AddDbContext kind of a thing right here. So you have a connection string, and not only do you have a connection string, you also need to for MariaDb you have to specify the server type as well. So it's a little bit more of a handful of things to do, but I mean it can be done, just not the most ideal. Okay, so without further ado, let's start. And of course, I'm going to start by making yet another version of the DbContext. So I'm going to close this. I'm going to nerd3. Okay, so we have an AddDbContext simple already, so that's already a good thing to have. Okay, and we know it works, so I'm going to add another class that pretty much does the same thing. So I'm going to open a new line. Okay, and maybe I'll just do this. I'll yank this, I'll paste it here, then I'll close this up. I won't call this AddDbContext simple. I'll call this the AddDbContext the more full way. Okay, or rather, or rather maybe I would name this AddDbContext with migration. So I call this, okay, maybe I'll just call it the more full way. I'll just take out the full, and I'll call this the AddDbContext. Okay, hopefully in future I might add migrations, I might not, but I don't want to make promises too early on. So I'll just call this class AddDbContext. It will inherit from DbContext, and it will implement the IAmTimCorrey as well. So let's do the implementation part first. So we will have the create and delete database. Okay, create and delete database we won't use. Okay, I prefer to over here not do anything. Okay, create and delete database will not do anything. Okay, they will absolutely do nothing at all. So that's how I want this implementation to be done. I will have a db set here as well, so I'll implement this. So I'll just yank this and paste it here. Okay, I'll open a new line. Okay, and of course the save changes bit. Okay, the save changes bit is already implemented by this DbContext, so I do not need to add a method in AddDbContext specifically saying save changes. So this thing already satisfies all the dependencies, so it satisfies all the implementation, so I'll not do anything. Okay, so let's do it the more conventional way by passing DbContext into the constructor. So I'll make the constructor for this AddDbContext. Right, so I'll do constructor is here. We pass in DbContextOptions. So notice the difference here. Okay, over here we actually pass in a DbContextOptionsBuilder, but now we are doing it. When we are doing it here, we will pass in DbContextOptions. So DbContextOptions is what the DbContextOptionsBuilder builds. Okay, all right. So when we pass in the DbContextOptions into the on configuring thing, okay, and then we configure the DbContextOptionsBuilder right here, the DbContext will take care of the rest, and the options thing will get automatically injected. Okay, so for this we actually put in a DbContextOptionsBuilder, and then we configure it within the class here. Over here, it is a kind of a more loosely coupled way of doing things. So I will have over here public AddDbContext. So I'll be following this sort of thing. Okay, so we just follow the syntax, and remember we need to have a base as well. Okay, we also need to pass something into the base constructor, and then of course open and close curly braces. Okay, as per normal. So what are we supposed to pass into the AddDbContext? Okay, we need to pass in the DbContextOptions object. So I'm just going to insert here. Okay, DbContextOptions. Okay, and what is the kind of DbContextOptions? Okay, the DbContextOptions must be specific to this class right here. So this DbContextOptions is specific to AddDbContext. All right. So DbContextOptions. I mean, over here we don't even see the typing. We don't even see the typing thing going on here. We don't even type. We don't say that the DbContextOptionsBuilder will be so-called typed according to this class. I guess it does all of this behind the scenes. So when you have this DbContextOptionsBuilder and it's being so-called configured here, it will kind of recognize that, oh, AddDbContext simple is actually using this options builder, and then the DbContextOptions will be automatically typed as AddDbContext simple. All of this work is done behind the scenes, whereas over here we have to sort of specify it ourselves. Okay, so DbContextOptions has to have a type down there. Okay, DbContextOptions has to have a type. So this is a bit more complicated, but you know, it's the way it works. Okay, I'm not going to go into source code. You can go into that yourself. Okay, but this is just another way of configuring your AddDbContext as well. Okay, so next thing I'm going to add is well, we specified the type of DbContextOptions. Okay, so the DbContextOptions is specific to AddDbContext. So that's what this line here is saying. Okay, I'm not going to explain too much over here. I'm just going to like copy and paste the code. Okay, so this is the AddDbContextOptions. Okay, so the context options. Okay, I'll just call this context options. Yeah, context options. So this is a AddDbContextOptions object. So this object context_options is of this type right here. And not only do you need to pass it into this constructor right here, you need to pass it into the constructor of the DbContext. Okay, so these context options need to be passed into the constructor of DbContext. That's why you have this base keyword right here. Okay, we talked about this briefly, but I will not say too much, except you know what this base keyword stands for. This base keyword stands for DbContext. Okay, because DbContext is the base class. Okay, is the base class of this. Of course, if you have implementations here as well, I hope that this base class will know it's this DbContext. All right. So hold on. Yeah. Okay. So I did a quick search. Okay. Can a class have multiple? Inheritances? Okay. Okay. It says here C#. C# does not support multiple class inheritance. Okay, so that should Okay, that should kind of resolve the issue, because yeah, that should resolve the issue, because we don't even need to worry about the possibility that this base keyword, yeah, we don't need to worry about the possibility that this base keyword has to refer to which class that the AddDbContext inherits from. Okay, so for C#, you can only inherit from one parent class rather than multiple parent classes. Okay, for other languages like C++, maybe Python, I think they support it. I cannot remember off the top of my head. But for C#, you do not support multiple inheritance. So for example, you look at this diagram here in Geeks for Geeks, class C, okay, never mind. I won't explain. Okay, forget it. Okay, so one class here, one child class can only inherit from one parent class. So this is the child class, this is the parent class, or otherwise known as the base class. Okay, so AddDbContext is here. It has a DbContext inheritance, and then it implements IAmTimCorrey, which is over here. Okay, we are not necessarily going to use this AddDbContext and then we'll inject it as a scope service. We are not going to do that. We are going to use the AddDbContext way of injecting the dependency. Now, of course, if you look at this code right here, it is much cleaner than looking at it here. Okay, then looking at this this way of configuring the server. Okay, this way of configuring the server may be slightly easier to understand. Okay, you can see here we do it step by step. Make a version object, we pass it into the MariaDb server version class, and then this MariaDb server version class is placed into this server version object right here, server version object. Alright, so server version object will then be passed into the use MySQL, and then the connection string will also be passed in here. Okay, from this you can see actually what is going on. Over here you do not see anything at all. Okay, you will just see this you will just see db set over here being done. It has this component collection. AddDbContext will take in the context options, and the base class, which is DbContext, will also take in the same context options object, and everything will be settled. Okay, you don't really do the configuration here. So this is what's going on here. You don't really see much going on in the code, and if you look at it the first time, you'll be very confused. What's going on? How does this thing work? Okay, but I'm just telling you, a lot of the things are done behind the scenes once you inject the context options. Okay, so this context options is injected in as a dependency, so we will need to of course configure the context options elsewhere. Okay, where do we configure the context options? Okay, we did let's see, yeah, where is the thing? Too many things open. Yes, there you go. Where do we do the context options? We use DbContext. Okay, we use the DbContext AddDbContext right here. So it's under services. So this is a different way of adding a scoped service. Okay, so without further ado, let's try this out. Okay, I'm not going to keep yapping on and not do anything. Let's get our hands dirty. Vim Program.cs. We'll quit this and we'll open nerd3 in case you want to open anything up. Okay, so last time we actually did a scope service right here, AddDbContext. Okay, AddDbContext will be here. Okay, so I will inject both DbContext here. Okay, so this is the AddDbContext way of adding a scoped service for dependency injection. Okay, so the standard way is well, one of two standard ways is to use the AddDbContext, or if you watch Kudvenkat's video, Venkat's video, you will say use the AddDbContextPool. And what's the difference? Okay, it says DbContext pooling can increase performance for high throughput scenario by reusing the same context instances. Okay, so that means one DbContext objects will be reused again and again, rather than you delete the thing and then you reuse it. Okay, so it's a bit like, okay, for scope service, once you finish the HTTP request, the DbContext object gets deleted, and then when a new DbContext is requested, you will reinstantiate it again with the next HTTP request. For this, instead we will reuse the same DbContext instance, okay, meaning to say that the same DbContext object will be reused again and again and again. Okay, how long? I do not know. Okay, maybe it is shorter than a singleton, because a singleton service lasts throughout the website. Okay, I don't know whether this is a singleton thing. I don't think it's a singleton thing. And then but maybe it lasts longer than a scoped object. So who knows? Maybe this is something, this DbContext object lasts somewhere between scoped and singleton. Where? I don't know. That's a guess. Okay, I'm not going to study this, but the long story short is that this is this can increase performance slightly. Okay, it says here, for most applications this performance gain is very small. Okay, and what are they talking about for high throughput scenarios? Okay, my guess is this: if you have again 100,000 website users trying to do this DbContext options, trying to manipulate the database underneath, so instead of the 100,000 of these DbContext instances being deleted and constructed with every HTTP request, okay, maybe you reuse some of these DbContext and you don't delete it first. You reuse some of it, and then we kind of like just leave it. Yeah. So so this DbContext it says here what? Scope services injected into the context will be only resolved once from the initial scope. So it sounds like somewhere between a singleton and a scoped service. So this is what DbContextPool does. The cons of this is that, okay, the context configuration cannot change between users. So that means let's open up. Oops. Alright, Control R. Let me delete this, delete. Okay. Should not have any issues. Okay, let's open up the models. And what was I doing? We look at AddDbContext. Alright, over here, you see that we actually hard-coded in the configuration data. So of course we cannot change this configuration halfway. Alright, but let's say you kind of couple it a bit loosely, you configure it outside this DbContext, and then we use the pool method, okay, and you want to reconfigure this DbContext with a new version, with a new server, with a new username, database, all of these things. You'll not be able to do that, okay, using the AddDbContextPool. So yeah, this is good for high throughput, high traffic, I guess, high traffic scenarios where, you know, a lot of users are trying to interact with the database at the same time. Okay, so for that case, you might want to use AddDbContextPool. Otherwise, just use the AddDbContext, which is, I guess, a bit more. You'll see over here. Okay, syntax wise, you can use both almost the same way. Just replace this AddDbContext with AddDbContextPool. Okay, so I will just show you what I'm going to do. Okay, builder.Services. Okay, okay, we do not use the .services anymore. We will just say AddDbContext. Okay, AddDbContext, and what application DbContext. Okay, so what kind of DbContext are we adding in? So much like we place this DbContext right here. Okay, let me v-split this side, and yeah, you'll see this is the AddDbContext that I want to do dependency injection. So I will add this DbContext right here, AddDbContext. Okay, what's the next thing you should have? Okay, as usual, some brackets and a semicolon. Brackets and semicolon. Okay, if you save this, you will have an error because this AddDbContext expects an input. Okay, what's that input? If you look at the source code, right here, it will look for this thing called action. Okay, and then this object will be called an options action. Okay, so an action here, if you take a look, this is something known as a delegate. Okay, so basically it is a method or function that has no parameters and doesn't return a value. Of course, if you have this action with one t action bracket t, it says it encapsulates a method with a single parameter and doesn't return a value. All right, that's a whole new thing right here. What is action? What is delegate? Okay, so okay, delegates. Okay, remember how we like to do dependency injection. Okay, undo. Okay, save. Okay, remember how we like to do dependency injection using these interfaces right here. So for this dependency injection, we need an interface, and then we will use the class. Okay, we will use the class which implements the interface, and then we will inject an object of that class into this interface. So into the program that expects this interface type, right? So what's actually going on here? Why have this whole idea of interfaces? Is so that we can use a class as an input into another class, right? So for example, over here, okay, this is not a good example. Let's go to component repository MariaDb. Okay, so here we have a lot of dependency injection right here going on. For example, DbContext is actually injected into the into this component repo simple MariaDb right here. Okay, and the interface or the type of this object here is IAmTimCorrey. Okay, so in fact we are injecting a whole class into this program here, or this class. Okay, so this class component repo simple MariaDb actually expects this this other class, or this object instantiated using this other class called DbContext. It will be passed into here as an argument. Now let's say you do not want to pass in the entire class in here. You just want to pass in one function. Okay, so how do you do it? Okay, so we use this thing called delegates. So what delegates do, delegates are like, okay, the proper word is pointers and all that. It's a pointer to a function or pointer to a method. Okay, but that's the official definition. How I like to think of it is that this delegate behaves a bit like an interface, in the sense that you can make a delegate type, so to speak, and then you pass in a function. You pass in the function over here as an object into this other class for dependency injection. So what delegates allow you to do is to have this loose coupling concept, very much like what we have here in this component repo simple MariaDb, except instead of injecting an entire class in, you just inject in one function. Okay. Okay, so that's a very mediocre understanding, but that's where I am at the time of making this video. I mean, there's a lot more. There's pointers and all that, how to use delegates. I will leave the link in the description here. Delegate C# programming guide and delegates in C# a practical demonstration. Some videos online were useful. I was just watching some of those. But yeah, so delegates behave a little bit like interfaces. Okay, the delegates behave a little bit like interfaces. But yeah, you look at this here. Delegates allows methods to be passed in as parameters. Okay, so that's the main point I catch about delegates. It's easy to understand if you understand dependency injection, and delegates allow for dependency injection if you want to inject just one function. Okay, that's all. Okay, that's how I like to understand it, and it's enough about delegates. All right, so what is this delegate expecting? Okay, so this delegate is expecting this action delegate in AddDbContextPool. This action iService provider, yeah, this action delegate here. All right, I mean, you don't have to even specify the so-called delegate or interface. This is a generic type. Okay, generic type of function, or this represents a generic type of function that takes in iService provider and a DbContextOptionsBuilder. Okay, again, so this action here is a function. Okay, this AddDbContext is expecting a function that and this function is supposed to take in two inputs. All right, these two inputs are iService provider and DbContextOptionsBuilder. At least that's the AddDbContext right here. So let's see. Yeah, so iService provider is one of the inputs. DbContextOptionsBuilder is the other input. Okay, for this function. So this action, you can just think of it as a function. It takes in two inputs, iService provider and DbContextOptionsBuilder. And this options action is actually supposed to be a function. So you're supposed to put there a function as an input. All right. Let's see. Are there any other overloads? Okay. This is the other overload. Oh, this is AddDbContext factory. Let's see whether there are any other overloads. AddDbContext. Okay. This is the other overload. Okay, this is the overload that you don't even pass in the iService provider right here. Okay, over here previously we expected iService provider. Okay, where is it? This one is this particular overload expects an action or function that deals with iService provider and DbContextOptionsBuilder. If you scroll up, okay, I will provide this. I'll provide this in the link. It's entity framework called service collection extensions.cs. Okay, so this version of DbContextPool and this version of AddDbContext, right? Okay, so this version of AddDbContext, where is it? Yeah, any one of these. All right, let's go up. Yeah, you'll see that the action, this is AddDbContext. This action is a function that only expects one input, which is DbContextOptionsBuilder, and then this options action is that so-called function you're supposed to put into this AddDbContext thing. All right, by default the value is null, which you do not want. Okay, and you can see over here, you look at this, the context lifetime and the options lifetime, both of them are scoped. Whereas when you go down, let's see whether you have the DbContextOptionsPool, right? let's see whether there's a lifetime there. It may make it easier to understand what pooling is. Alright. Okay, maybe it doesn't have that see, service lifetime scoped. I'm wondering if there is something for the pool thing that makes it easy to explain, but apparently it doesn't have that. Anyway, I digress. Okay, let's go back. We'll just deal with the AddDbContext, and well, this part of the code actually shows that, you know, it shows that this DbContextOptions lifetime, these are scoped services. Okay, this just provides confirmation that AddDbContext is going to give you a scoped service. So enough of that. Okay, so we are going to have what do you call that? A function that does something with DbContextOptionsBuilder. Okay, that's why when you come here, all right, you will see this thing passed in as an argument, right? This is actually a lambda function, if I'm not wrong. Lambda function. Okay, we've gone through this before, but I kind of forgot most of what I even talked about. Okay, input parameters become some expression, right? So you can see this is a lambda function, if I'm not wrong. Okay, but an action is a you kind of use it a bit differently, but long story short, the reason why we see this being used here, okay, we see a function being passed in over here as an argument. The reason why you see that is because it expects an action. Okay, an action is a function. Okay, it's a kind of an action type, means to say that this AddDbContext expects a function to be placed in here. Okay, you squeeze in a whole function in here. Okay, it makes it very hard to read. Of course, if you're looking at this without VS Code or Visual Studio or what, if you're just looking at this sort of code, it's like, what's going on? Okay, so now you know what's going on. We are injecting a function into this AddDbContext right here. So what does this function do? This function takes in the DbContextOptions. It takes in DbContextOptions, so builder. Sorry, it uses this DbContextOptionsBuilder. So where's this? Yeah. So you see this thing? It takes in a DbContextOptionsBuilder and it does something with it. Okay. So you can see this options thing is actually a DbContextOptionsBuilder. Okay. How do you know? Because this option thing actually uses the SQL Server method. Okay. If you take a look at the use SQL Server, DbContextOptionsBuilder. Okay, DbContextOptionsBuilder, you'll see that over here that it use SQL Server is inside the methods under DbContextOptions. So alright, that is the idea. Alright. We actually pass in a DbContextOptionsBuilder, okay, DbContextOptionsBuilder into this action right here. So when we take a look here, you see this thing called options. I think a better way to actually name this is called OptionsBuilder, because that's actually what's happening right there. So what does this function take in? Okay, this function is supposed to take in this. This AddDbContext takes in this function, and this function is supposed to take a DbContextOptionsBuilder object and configure this DbContextOptionsBuilder. So what does it mean? Okay, it means that whatever we have been doing right here, okay, this is the wrong file. Okay, let me open up AddDbContext. Yeah, whatever we've been doing right here to configure this options builder, we'll have to do it, all of it over here instead. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, so whatever is the code over here, we need to put it over here. All right, so let's do it. It seems rather painful to me, honestly, but okay, whatever. Options builder, okay, equal sign and the greater than sign. you have options builder dot use MySQL. Okay, and then it takes into inputs. Okay, it takes into inputs, and that is it. It has to take into inputs. So what is the input? Okay, the first input for use MySQL is a connection string, so we need to have a connection string right here. Connection string, and then what's the second? Oh, connection string. Okay, and the second one will be the server version. Okay, the second one will be this server version. So I will have a server version object right here, server version. Okay, and then we'll have to, of course, put all these things, all this server version and everything right here. Okay, so every time I press Ctrl W, it kind of just undoes things. Okay, so we'll need to have use the Microsoft Entity Framework call right over here. Okay, so I'll say here use the for DbContextOptions injection, or AddDbContext, AddDbContext. We need the Microsoft EF Core namespace. Okay, why? Because we need AddDbContext. Not only that, we also need DbContextOptionsBuilder. We need this server version thing right here, the MariaDb server version, everything. All right. Okay, so using Microsoft.Entity Framework call, and this is why am I doing this? Replace this with S. Okay, so this is the namespace we need to have, and of course I forgot my semicolon as usual. I hope this doesn't become a habit, but yeah. So we need to use Microsoft Entity Framework call. Okay, over here there are a lot of messages. Okay, so okay, builder doesn't exist in current context. Or web application builder doesn't contain a definition for AddDbContext. Or just yet. It requires a receiver type iService collection. Okay, we will deal with the error things later. Okay, so what do we need? We need a connection string, and we need this what do you call that? Server versions. Okay, let's see whether we have the Microsoft Entity Framework call. Okay, this is line 25 now. Yeah. Oh, yeah. All the things are, all the issues are with this yeah. Oh, right. Over here, I need to have a builder.Services.AddDbContext. Okay, excuse me. Builder.Services.AddDbContext, because this is AddDbContext is under the services namespace. Okay, typo there. Builder services AddDbContext. So this is the correct syntax, not builder AddDbContext. Okay, so that's what we have. All right. What is next? I need to define the server version, and I need to define a connection string. So what's the server version? Okay, I'll need to do it here. So okay, we'll just do these few things. Version equals to new version 10.7.3. So this is the version object. Okay, and we will need to do a MariaDb server version. Okay, server version equals to new MariaDb server version and then you'll take in the version thing. Alright, so that's what's will happen. So we have defined our server version. Next thing we need is our connection string. So for connection string, I'm not going to waste too much effort. I'm just going to copy all of this over here. All of this over here. And yank. And I'll paste it here. Connection string equals, well, the server is localhost, database is component database, user is MariaDB user, password is my password. Other than that, I'm not going to do anything else. Okay, so everything should work about right now. It says connection string doesn't exist in current context. Where is it? This is in Program.cs 27. Oh, right, I have not typed connection string yet. I need to type it as a string. Okay, there you go. That's the last thing to do. Okay, so now the thing works. All right, so this is all the whole AddDbContext and everything. How to perform dependency injection. What's going on here? Why does this look so confusing? Yeah, now you know why. Maybe I'll put this here for easier like reading. Okay, none of this is easy to read anyway, but okay, that's what's happening. That's why we actually have a sort of a function looking like thing here. Okay, this is a function looking like thing. This whole thing right here is a function looking like thing, and it takes in a DbContextOptionsBuilder, and then we'll just use the same methods, the use MySQL methods. We will of course configure everything here, the MariaDB server version. Okay, it makes this part look a bit messy, but you know, at least you kind of know what's going on here. Okay, let me remove this side so that you can see. Yeah. Alright, so this is the one with AddDbContext. You can of course do the same thing with AddDbContextPool. Really up to you. You see, we shut down and then we restart. Okay. .NET Watch. .NET Watch. Yeah, look at .NET Watch. Okay, everything works as per normal. Okay. Of course, we have not even used this specific DB. We have not even used this specific AddDbContext just yet. Okay, we can actually do another implementation of a component repository. Yeah, then we can use AddDbContext. Okay, so this is the so-called AddDbContext and AddDbContextPool way of dependency injection. So let me just yank this and I'll paste it here, just so that you can see that there are two different versions of this. Okay, so one, oops, sorry, I'll insert the comments to comment this out. Oh dear, what did I just, yeah, okay, 1 2 1 2, oh no, wrong. I'll paste this here, open a new line, I'll comment out the second line, 1 2 dot and dot. Alright, there you go. So I'll just leave the syntax here. Syntax is here if you want to use AddDbContextPool or AddDbContextPool. AddDbContextPool. So that's the syntax if you want. I'm leaving it here for your reference in case you want it, but this is how you would do it. Okay. I will, okay, maybe I'll shorten one more line of code, and yeah, there you go. 3 neat lines of code. We are declaring 2 new objects, the MariaDB server version, the version right here, okay, and then a connection string. Then we'll just feed both of these into the options builder. Okay, options builder is this function. This action actually takes in a DbContextOptionsBuilder, and then it does something with it. What is that something? Is it will use the MySQL connectionString server version, and then it will pass, this whole function is passed into this AddDbContext as an argument or as a parameter. Okay, I've talked enough. Hope this has helped you to understand how this AddDbContext works and AddDbContextPool works. We have discussed quite a fair bit of it, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.